Welcome to In Good Company, where relationships drive results, with your host, Lisa Kilray. In each episode, we explore how great leaders build trust, inspire teams, and turn meaningful connections into real success.
Hi, I'm Lisa Kilray, host of In Good Company, where relationships drive results. Today's episode is sponsored by WSI eResults. At WSI, we help manufacturers and B2B businesses build the strategic foundation they need for AI-driven digital growth. Our work spans digital strategy and roadmaps, SEO, content development, and multi-channel digital campaigns that drive real bottom line results. In fact, recently, a client who started working with us a few years ago said, "I'm so glad I started working with you," and began this journey with WSI. That early strategy allowed our client to build that foundation before the LLMs took over, and they are now getting qualified leads from across the world for equipment that can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. To learn more, visit www.wsi-manufacturing-marketing.com. Now, let us get into today's conversation. Today, I'm with Joel Onyshuk. Joel is Vice President of Sales at Formic, where he works with manufacturing leaders to address labor and operational challenges through robots as a service. He has held senior sales and leadership roles across high-growth organizations and has worked with thousands of manufacturing companies, giving him a literal front-row view into how manufacturers approach growth, automation, and leadership. Joel is also a podcast host and content creator, so I'm happy to have him here today, and he will share insights on leadership, growth, and relationship-driven businesses. Joel, welcome to In Good Company. I'm really glad you could join me here today.
Thank you, Lisa. It's going to be a lot of fun to have a conversation with you.
Right. So thank you so much. So just to start, as I said, you are currently Vice President of Sales at Formic. For those of you who are listening who may not be familiar, can you share what Formic does and who you serve?
Yeah, so we are the leader in robots as a service for end-of-line automation within the food, beverage, CPG, pet food, consumer chemical, packaging container kind of world that we're in. So we serve a variety of types of customers, but most of them are multi-generational, family-owned businesses or mid-market businesses. Many of the smaller enterprise organizations are now turning to us as well. And it's our goal to make automation as easy as possible for these organizations. No capital, no internal resources needed to support it, and no risk. And so our approach is what tackles those three areas of opportunity to democratize automation and make it accessible and easy to implement.
Wow, that's really interesting. I haven't heard a whole lot. I guess you would call it RAS, like
Yeah.
it's SaaS. So I'm very familiar with the SaaS concept with software. Explain a little bit about that. You know, how does a manufacturing leader benefit from robotics as a service?
Yeah, it depends on kind of what kind of size of business you are and what your strategies currently are. But I'll give you I would say the greatest swath of answer. It typically falls into this. Uh, we work with organizations who are either capital constrained, they don't have enough capital, and they have more projects than they know what to do with, and they have to choose selectively where to place their money to get the biggest ROI. Those group of customers of ours tend to go, hey, we could automate 10 different things. We have money for 3. So we're going to spend it on the highest ROI stuff. And end-of-line automation tends to be important, but not necessarily as high ROI as some other projects in the plant. It tends to fall off the end of the list over and over and over and get pushed to next year, pushed to next year. We allow them to tackle those things without having to touch capital at all and use their OPEX budget to automate their plant. Also, while giving all the maintenance and parts and responsibilities of programming and install and commissioning and all that stuff to us as well. So they can just really kind of go, I think about that like the junk guys. You point and say, I want the couch gone, or I want that garden cleaned out, or whatever, and they just do it. They point at the area of their plant they want to automate and say, do it. And we just take care of everything for them. So that's one kind of customer. They're capital constrained. They're like, we want to do more with less, right? The other type of customer that we serve is ones that they have tons of capital, but they recognize that they don't have the internal resources necessarily to do all the projects themselves. And so you think about the larger organizations, the enterprise organizations who are looking to maximize their ability to do as much as possible in 2026. They go, our engineering teams are constrained. We can only do so much stuff. We have the capital. We don't have the time or the energy. So can you take on this portion of our business for us? And then, we'll use you for a year or 2 years. And then one day we'll end up using capital anyway. We'll do it all ourselves. But hey, we can get the best of both worlds. Automate now with robots as a service, and then automate later with capital. There's a couple different ways we realize our value in the market, but those are two big ones.
That's really interesting. Now, how does the change in technology work into this whole concept with a customer? I mean, to me, it feels a little bit like leasing a car. When your lease is up, you can upgrade, you get a new car, it's the latest technology.
Yeah.
How does it work with your service?
It's a great question. I think a lot of people are used to the capital route, right? So they go buy something and then they use it as long as they can. But we know that robot arms, they're kind of the same for a while now, right? There's not enormous changes in the way robot arms are made, end of arm tools are made. There's some standard stuff that everyone kind of does. What gets you is the software side of the thing. And you open up your laptop and
Interesting.
it's a few years old, and it's not the hardware that's failing you. The hinges are still working, the trackpad's still working. The software is just struggling to keep up with the modernization, with the new user interfaces that everyone wants, the type of people who are using the UI in their plants, the type of workers. And so what makes us unique is we've not only spent a lot of time and energy and effort in developing great hardware, and because we're the ones servicing it, it's going to last a very long time because they're not at the whim of whatever limitations a team has at a manufacturing plant to do it themselves. We are obsessively, monitoring these things 24/7 and then keeping them running really, really well ourselves with PMs and everything else. But not only is the hardware great, but the software that is behind the scenes is exceptional as well. And the software, as I said, that's what gets you, is the best software across the industry when it comes to the user interface and the capabilities behind the scenes. In fact, I'm not sure if you drive a Tesla. I don't, but a lot of people do,
I
and
do
you'll
not.
you'll find out one day that you have more horsepower than you did before, and you're like, no one's been at my house. I haven't taken it in. How is that possible? It's because the software is so advanced, they can push updates to you and provide capabilities that you never even asked for, but make your life better as a result. That's what we can do with our robots as a service, our fleet of systems across the country. One customer has an issue, we patch that, we fix that, we improve that, and now hundreds of systems at once all get the same benefit, just like a SaaS offering. And so we can iterate quickly, fix quickly, scale improvements quickly, and we can fix 90% of issues that happen in any manufacturing plant with a robot without even stepping foot into the manufacturing plant, pushing the update remotely. So
Wow.
using a lot of AI and internal capabilities that, probably go above my head, it's very, very cool to see how the software side of robotics has been a huge benefit to our customer base.
Give me an example. Do you have a real live example of a recent customer or a current customer where it really made a difference in their productivity and their challenges that they were facing in the facility?
Yeah, so I think of one of our flagship customers is in the Chicagoland area, and that is Land of Frost. Yeah, Land of Frost is a multi-generational family-owned business. They are big, though. I won't give their
I didn't
actual.
realize they were still family owned.
Yeah, so you're familiar with Land of Frost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So Land of Frost still family owned. CEO is very inspirational, very servant leadership oriented. I resonate with his approach and style very, very much. I've worked with them twice now in different capabilities, implementing software across all their plants and now hardware as well. And they had issues that probably all your listeners will resonate with, right? High labor costs, the never-ending carousel of having to hire, train, let go, train, retrain. That is a very costly and challenging part of the business. Long changeovers were a big challenge for them. Uh, and overall operationally, they just wanted the solidity of automation. But even though they had capital, they're like, this isn't the best place for our capital, but can we still get the benefits of automation without having to touch capital? And the answer was yes, and that's why we were obviously selected. Now, the benefit for them was a 20% reduction in OPEX costs. improved productivity and efficiency by eliminating the changeover downtime because they're clicking a button and now it's moving on to the next recipe or SKU and not having to do any sort of manual process whatsoever. But I think the most impressive part, beyond the savings, beyond the improved, throughput and efficiencies and productivity gains, was just the time it took. You think about these things, and oftentimes it's a multi-month assessment process where you're going through determining which vendors to select and gaining all your RFQs out there and all that stuff. And for us, it was a matter of a few hours of work between the two of us. We do everything else. They go, yes, let's do it. One weekend, while they were already down, we installed 5 palletizers, and by Monday they were up and running, and it was working seamlessly. That's the sort of service we're able to offer because this is all we do. We do it exceptionally well, and they can leave that part of their plant to us. And so since then, you can look at all the video and testimonial stuff on our website and YouTube channel, but there's a reason they're a flagship customer. They handed it all to us, said just do it, and it just worked as well as it was supposed to work.
Wow, that's an incredible case story. It almost sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
But but I'm sure it is. So thank you for sharing that. So I'd love to take a step back for a moment and talk a little bit about you and how
Sure.
you got into this highly technical, what feels very futuristic type of business, but it's not futuristic. It's here. You guys
Yeah.
have been here for a while. Have you always been in highly technical niche manufacturing environments? And how did you get to the role that you are currently in?
I like to say that I'm like an accidental salesperson or an accidental executive.
Okay.
This isn't what I expected to be doing. Back in 2014, I got into my first outside sales role in SaaS. And then from there, 26 months later, joined a manufacturing tech startup at the time, Red Zone. Red Zone was a 7-figure ARR company, and 6 years later, they were acquired for $1 billion. So I was part of that journey, a sizable part of that journey, reported to the ownership team there, and got to have a front row seat to what looked like to scale and grow a company from very small to very, very large. I like to say I worked for essentially 4 different companies during my span of time there because of the growth journey and the things I was a part of. And the reason I bring that up is that was selling to mid-size food beverage CPG companies and I was located in Minnesota at the time. I was doing a lot of the Midwest. I spent almost all my time in Chicago compared to anywhere else. And I say that because when Formic gave me a call years later after that experience at Red Zone and then doing my own startup and then another startup as well, they said, "Hey, we're a 7-figure ARR company selling to mid-sized food beverage CPG companies, and we're headquartered in Chicago." I went, "That sounds familiar. Yeah, I've been here, done that.
Yep.
Exact same customer base, solving very similar but adjacent needs. And this is the next iteration of my story because this is the next iteration of their story. The things that they needed then, I was at the tip of the spear and providing it to them. And now the things they need now, having a chance to serve the same customer with the tip of the spear offering that's really bleeding edge and new and incredibly needed right now. It's a joy to see the same faces all over again."
Right. So you've spent a lot of time from the way it sounds in high growth environments, and you've worked with manufacturers, I'm sure, who are under a lot of
Yeah.
real labor pressure and other challenges. How has that experience shaped the way you think about growth, both for the companies and for the leaders themselves?
I think one of the greatest takeaways that I've found in the last several years has been the idea of failing fast. There's a lot of uh, legacy paralysis by analysis situations you see a lot of companies still falling into, where because they can't guarantee the outcome, they just don't do anything at all. The way they've always done it is comfortable. So and so's grandfather did it this way, and by golly, I'm going to do it this way too. And it just doesn't work anymore. And the thing that I hear resonating a lot in the world I'm in is the phrase evolve or die. The reality is, there's many ways that the manufacturing industry in the country can die. You can die by just losing to the big boys who already have a huge foothold and not being able to keep up. That's a lot of our customer base. They have to find a way to automate and keep up with their competitors, or they're going to lose contracts, lose revenue, and ultimately lose. Or we're all going to lose to other countries who are way ahead of us in automation and bringing their costs down and being more productive and all those things as well. And as a whole, our country needs to win as well when it comes to evolving or dying. and failing fast and iterating and finding new ways of doing things. And so I think at a business level, the idea of evolve or die and the fact that the time is actually now, that's a huge learning and thing that I've been a part of. I like to say that Formic is at the tip of the spear in trying to save American manufacturing. This isn't about just iterating and making small changes and making it a little better than last year. This is a wholesale need to address systemic issues that, we see ourselves at the epicenter in helping companies address when it comes to automation needs. That's the business side. On the personal side, I think I have seen repeatedly the criticality of building strong company culture. That as a leader, your number one job is to create a strong team culture. So creating the foundation, the framework for strong teams with strong values, with strong focuses that are unwavering and clear on a daily basis, and then hiring the right people to fill the roles, not to replicate yourself, but to replicate the needs of the business as, hey, we have this thing we're trying to tackle. Not any one person is going to meet all those needs. How do I create the best possible team, give them the best possible chance for success, and then get out of their way and say, hey, I'm here to enable your success. Let me help you get there. Let me know what you need, and be a mentor and a coach for them along the way. Gone are the days of leaders being able to say, just do it and show up and do the thing I told you to do, and everything will be fine. Reality is, with AI and with experience of our employee bases now, most of my team knows how to do stuff better than I do in a lot of ways. And so it's not my job to tell them what to do. It's about hiring the right people, give them the right environment, and then partner with them for success. And I think that's the thing that's resonated at the leadership level, the servant leadership heart, the recognition that company culture trumps all, and then hiring the right people. Those are huge learnings for the last several years for me.
Yeah, I agree. So I love your evolve or die phrase, and I think that applies to so many different people, businesses, functions. I mean, it doesn't really matter what role you have. With the advent of AI, you
Yeah.
really need to evolve or die because everybody else is, or at least the leaders and the ones who are going to succeed in the future are evolving because they don't want to die.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, Formic as a company, and you as a leader within that company, definitely have been on the forefront of this evolution of AI. I mean, you guys existed well before ChatGPT, and the LLMs became mainstream. How have you worked AI into your role and function within the company to help Formic grow and get more visibility and get more customers?
Me personally,
Yeah,
yeah, it's open in two different tabs on my desktop right now. I've got ChatGPT, got the pro version, super duper version. I go through ChatGPT for problem solving and iteration ideas almost daily, if not daily, because what I'm constantly wanting it to do is challenge my preconceptions. I look at it as a trusted advisor who's been there, done that right next to me, and any thought that I have in my head of I wonder. I stop wondering and I just go, let's have a
yeah,
conversation. And whether it's a marketing idea, it's a go-to-market strategy idea, it's a territory analysis and creation for 2026 idea, which I spent ungodly amounts of time on recently. Those are all things that I'm bouncing off this new trusted advisor that I can now go to. And the speed of iteration, the speed of coming to solutions quickly, and the quality of the deliverable that I'm able to bring to my team, to my leadership team, to my boss or CEO, it is substantially higher than anything I could have done in pure isolation. Unfortunately, but the reality is none of us are good at everything. And I am very good at some things, and I would like to think that for the next short amount of time, I'm still better than ChatGPT at a few different things, but it won't last long. I need to be leveraging the best tools at my disposal to be the best I can be, because someone else is going to beat me if I don't.
absolutely. I've had the same experience with ChatGPT and Gemini and all of them. It increases your productivity tenfold. I
Oh,
mean, the
easily.
things that
Yep.
you're able to do now, you couldn't even think about doing. And it allows you to kind of increase your efficiencies and move on to that next task that requires more of your time and effort. So
Well, I'll give
it's a
you a really good
huge,
example, Lisa.
yeah,
I was just in a meeting with a $5 billion company in the last couple weeks. We were introduced to them by a large Big Four consulting company. We had this mutual meeting in Chicago, and the research we did. the architecture of the deck itself, the messaging and ensuring that it matched the research and the format and the flow and the audience. All of that was in collaboration with, AI. And
Right.
I have done presentations like that before. It has taken me days of work to prepare
Right.
for a 1 hour meeting. And it still took a lot of time, but it went from days to hours. And that's the sort of thing that you have to leverage or you're going to get beaten for sure. Evolve or die, right?
Right. Absolutely. So, thank you, Joel, so much for a great conversation today. I really appreciate you sharing your experience and your perspective. Before we wrap up, I want to give the listeners a chance to learn more about you and Formac. So, if you could share, where is the best place for people to find information about Formac?
Yeah, Formic is Formic.co for our website. Formic.co, Formic. If we can go there to the website, we have a great YouTube channel. We love to talk about our customers and the great things they're doing. There's a lot of case studies and interesting information about the sort of customers that we service every single day. You can always go to my LinkedIn, which is
Yep.
linkedin.com/in/my name, JoelOnyshuk. I do like to post pretty consistently. I'm very relational, so it's not as much about Formic as it is just giving me a sneak peek into my life as a leader, things I'm working on. So hopefully we can connect and love to meet anyone who's interested.
Great. Before we close, I'd also like to end with a reflective question. When you
Sure.
look back on your career in manufacturing, who is one leader who had a lasting impact on how you lead today? And what's the most important lesson you learned from them, from the way they showed up?
I'm actually going to answer that somewhat differently. I've had multiple leaders throughout my career who have been helpful for me, but I would say there are two leaders who have led me from afar and will never even know it. And those leaders are Brene Brown and Simon Sinek. And between those two, I would say if you mash those two together and you sprinkle some secret Joel sauce in there, that's who I am as a leader every day. I'm a vulnerable leader. I'm not afraid to say I don't know. I'm not afraid to say I'm unsure or I'm afraid or I'm trying to figure it out. And I think that sort of interpersonal connectivity that I have with my teams, I've always built out, and the way I relate to them has led to creating a strong team culture of safety and vulnerability and being able to be really wherever you're at right now as a member of my team. It's okay to fail. It's okay to grow. It's okay to not have the answer. It's okay to learn quickly, fail fast, right? And so I think those two have given me the skill sets of not only self-knowledge and the ability to be vulnerable and be okay with it, but then also how to relate that to my broader team. Start with why, as Simon Sinek would say, and lead from the front. So those are the two people who have influenced me the most.
That's awesome. And I agree with you. It is okay to fail because if you don't fail, more than occasionally, you're not going to evolve and you're going to die.
You're not going to
That's
learn.
my
Yeah.
philosophy. Exactly. So thank you for ending on that note and for such a thoughtful conversation today, Joel. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, and I truly appreciate you sharing your experiences and insights. I'd just like to make a final call out to our listeners who are joining today. If you are enjoying these conversations, I encourage you to also look back at some recent episodes with Pam Kumpata, who is a CEO peer advisor, and Dan Letourneau, who is president of Peoria Production Solutions, who doubled his company's revenue since he started leading his company. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of day.
Thanks for listening to In Good Company, where relationships drive results, with Lisa Kilray. Be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, stay connected and keep building relationships that drive results.